Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Lizard Brains podcast. I'm your host, DJ Alessandrini. I'm joined by the other host, Tom McGorman. Tom, how's it going?
I'm good. I'm feeling smart and studious today. Look at me.
Whoa, yeah, look at those glasses.
If you want to look at me, listener, you're gonna have to go on YouTube. But I got some glasses.
Are those
Very
new?
smart. Yeah, $20 on the internet. I can see like
$20?
perfect again.
Those look nice for
Yeah,
20
guys,
bucks.
do not buy $200 sunglasses. We can do better than this.
Yeah,
This is
what?
the hill I'm gonna die on.
Well, they're not sunglasses, they're regular glasses. Uh,
Or glasses. Yeah.
yeah, what happened to your other ones?
Well, I lost them forever ago, and then I just went without for a while.
Yeah, who
And I was
needs to
like, I
see?
got my eye exam last week, and they kept asking me what my glasses were, and I kept having to tell them I forgot or I lost them. So by the end, they had berated me into like, "You should really get some glasses." But they're like, they start at $180. So I went online and found them for 20
Well,
bucks.
well, you normally wear contacts, right?
Yeah, I like daily contacts.
Yeah, okay. Are they
Do you have eye correction?
No, I don't. I that's a whole new world to me. My dad needed glasses at 40, so I'm 37 right now, so or I will be 37 in a couple days. But it's like I haven't had to deal with it yet. So when I turn 40-ish, I'm sure that will be something I have to contend with. And I'm sure it'll be something I lose and break all the time because
Yeah.
I can't take care of sunglasses. I only get $20 sunglasses because it's only a matter of time till I leave them on like a restaurant table or something. I'm terrible with sunglasses. So I had
Same.
an expensive pair once and then Ito sat on them and they died. So
Oh, Ito.
yeah.
Ah.
Dang it.
That's why you buy cheap glasses, though.
Yeah, so your friends can sit
I,
on them.
yeah, I typically end up donating a lot of them to, like, rental cars, and back when I was coaching a ton with driving the car, I would leave them in cars all the time.
Mhm.
Autocross co-drivers, there's been many a glove box that have earned Atomo glasses
Yep.
after we co-drive, yeah.
That's probably where you know that picture that you put together with everyone wearing the Tomo glasses of like as you were doing like the pro racing. Um
Yep.
that was they didn't buy those glasses. Those were just all the glasses Tom left everywhere.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
I put a call out, "Please, if you have a pair of my glasses."
If I left it,
No, that was
please.
totally organic. They just did that. I didn't even know it was happening, and then I started getting inundated with those. That was cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
Anyway, so I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. My hands are dirty right now. I literally just got out of the garage. The FRS is back together.
Wait, let's see the nails.
Oh.
Proof. They're a
It's not
little
really
dirty,
focusing, yeah. I
especially
wore
that that
gloves.
that left ring finger, really dirty.
Yeah, it's gross.
Must have done a lot of work with that one.
That one was, trying to remove the hub. So since remember my my plan from the last podcast was to get, like, the FR like, just I had a long list of things to do to the FRS just so it's, like, ready to drive on a racetrack, right? And
Yeah.
the one of those things was, the diff was making noise as you were driving down the road. It was just like it had like a bad bearing or something in there. Easiest thing to do is just replace the whole diff. The car came with a diff. Thank you, Peter. And so I threw that in there. Well, it was so much quieter. Then I noticed my hub was failing. And guys, I don't know if you've ever tried to remove a Subaru hub, but, oh my goodness, I had to go full ape with a like a sledgehammer to get this thing out of the car. Very rarely do you take a sledgehammer to a car, but, like, that was the only way I could get this hub out. So, that was, um that was fun.
I'm trying to think if I've ever changed a hub. I don't think I have.
You did on the
No, that's
S2000.
a lie. Yeah, and I did something with a press at Andy's shop to do something with my car, didn't I?
Well, luckily, these hubs are they're, like, built assemblies, so you don't have to, like, press in bearings to, like, knuckles and
Oh, you
stuff
didn't have to
like that.
press it. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, but it's, so, like, it goes into the knuckle, but, like, it just kinda, like, slides in there, but over time, and neither Peter nor I have been, shy of, like, "Oh, there's an event? Well, there's salt on the roads. Who cares? Whatever, just drive to the thing," right? So it's not like it's been, like, a garage queen of a FRS, and no car should be a garage queen. We should be driving these things all
Quite
the
the
time.
opposite, yeah.
So
Yeah.
the the little bit of overlap that the hub slides into the knuckle, uh, they just became one, and there was nothing I could do to get those things out. So hopefully, because there's a little ABS sensor that dangles in there, hopefully I didn't damage that thing while getting it out, but I don't see how I would have. But that's the only thing that could have went wrong as far as I know, because I didn't go take the car for a drive because I literally threw the wheel on and then was like, cool, we're good. But
Yeah.
while the hub was out, uh, I always appreciate when cars have extended studs on them. So I bought ARP extended stubs to throw in the new hub. And so I really wanted to get it together so it could sit for a little bit and then I'll go out and retorque it after. Cause like when you put new studs in, like, I don't know, I'm always a little paranoid that they didn't fully get to where they needed to be, like in the new hub. And then like they like settle into their spot and then it's like the lugs are loose. I'm always paranoid about
Yep.
that. So I like torqued it down and then after the podcast and after some coaching tonight, I'm gonna go back out there and torque it down and then go for a drive. And then hopefully the car's fixed. Hopefully.
Where is your torque wrench right now?
Laying on the tire.
Okay, that works. I
Yeah,
was
it's
gonna
like
say it's
leaning
not your
against the
driver's seat.
tire. The wheel's still up in the air. So,
Got it. Got
but I did think about that. I was like, okay, I can't like put this away. So I literally just like laid it in the spokes of the wheel. I was like, there's no
it.
way I'm missing this. Like, if I somehow miss this, then like I deserve whatever happens.
Yep. What was that ad campaign? It's 5 o'clock. Do you know where your torque wrench is?
I don't remember that, but
Just
that
pull that one.
sounds yeah, that
No,
sounds
I think it
awesome.
was like, do you know where your kid is or something?
So I actually we talk about torque wrenches. Um, I was trying to find like a more compact torque wrench option today, and I had a bunch
Huh?
of different group chats talking about this today. And what I ended up on, and I don't know if it'll work or not, but they have these like little torque like readers that you just put on like the end of a regular wrench, and then you can have it like beep when you get to like the torque limit. So it's like
Yeah.
the size of like an extension almost, except it's like a block of electronics and whatever mechanisms measure the torque. This might be the dumbest idea ever. I'm gonna test it before I like rely on it. But I'm thinking I'm gonna use that and just a wrench that I would have already brought to the racetrack to torque my wheels.
The thing is an add-on.
Yeah, you
It's
like
like an
add it on
extension for
to
so you can put it on any wrench.
exactly, yeah.
Ah.
So,
Yeah, I think
because the space is
anybody knows that
limited.
that's a bad idea.
What's that?
Tell him now.
Yeah, if it's
I
a
said
bad
if
idea,
anybody
let me
thinks
know.
it's a bad idea.
Yeah, let me know. But like the torque wrench I have is like really bulky, and I just don't have a good way. It just lives in its own in the car, and if it rains, it's like out in the rain. I would rather not have my expensive torque wrench like out in the rain. So like if I could bring something to the racetrack that like fits in all the cases and the things that I have that are waterproof, if it rains, I don't care. But like, so I want like a compact torque wrench that can like go high enough to like do wheels. So like a lot of the 3/8 torque wrenches, they don't go high enough to do the wheels. I found one, but it's really not that much shorter than a regular torque wrench. Um, so yeah. Uh, hopefully that works. So if anybody knows, tell me that's a terrible idea. It's literally just going to be put wheels on and off the car. It's not like I'm doing anything else with it. But I feel like it should be within noise, and I'm going to test it against my existing torque wrench just to like make sure that it's good. But I don't know. That might be like a really useful uh little thing to carry around because like I said, I just there's not a good way to bring it to the racetrack and it be covered.
Someone needs to invent a Swiss Army knife of racetrack tools that's waterproof, and then it has like a torque wrench when you swing this one out, and the next one is like a impact, not impact. Yeah, sure, why not? An
Yeah,
impact.
and a pry
Next one can
bar
be like a
and a
tire pressure
torch.
thing.
Yep. Tire pressure thing
It's
the
the size of
tire
a race
pressure
trailer.
thing's in there.
Yeah,
And it needs to be
that's gonna
really
be my
small.
$1,000,000 idea.
Yeah, it needs to be really small and can fit in your pocket.
Right.
Yeah, or at least,
That's
like
what Andy Hollis always jokes. He always jokes on one lap when he had the McLaren that like his wallet was his spare because he's like, I can't do anything on this car. I'm just gonna pull my wallet out and send it to the dealer.
yep. Yeah, yeah. Uh, Peter Lear actually brings a decent amount of tools with him for the Porsche, but I think those tools are just to move the wheels around and to change a sway bar, like, and I think those are the only tools he brings.
Does it have one of those special torque wrenches that's 10 feet long?
No, so he has this like uh it's called a torque multiplier, and it like goes in the spokes of the wheel for like leverage. So it has like it's it's because they're center lug wheels. That's why it matters. Because
Right.
normally that's like I forget what it's like 400 foot pounds or 500 foot pounds of torque on this thing, and it's like a 10-inch torque or 10-foot like torque wrench that like you would normally like click down on the thing to get that much
Yep.
torque. But this one, it's like a mechanism that you put on and it has like gears inside of it to give you like that mechanical advantage. And one part goes on the center lug and then the other part swings and then like secures itself against one of the spokes of the wheels. And then through the
Mm.
gear mechanism on the internals of the thing, you get like that mechanical advantage. So like the travel is much farther, like the amount of like wrenching you would have to do is like much farther, but eventually you get to the torque multiplier. So like we have like 100 foot-pound torque wrench, and the multiplier is by like 5 or 4 or whatever the math comes out to be. Um, and so we just torque that thing to 100, but 100 on that thing because it goes through the gears is 500 on the center lug. Whatever the torque ends up to be, I'm just using those numbers.
You need one of those for your car.
I don't have center lug wheels on an FRS, Tom.
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. So it wouldn't be.
Also, that
You
thing
don't.
is
Nothing like that exists.
Uh, I just man, that would be such a useless product because somebody would just bring a torque wrench to the racetrack.
You're right. You have a very unique problem. That's right. Kelsey in the chat says, "Precision Instruments is a regular size one that comes in a nice waterproof box, and it's not Harbor Freight." Because Phil said, "Get Harbor Freight," but you have bad luck with that.
I have bad luck with the Harbor Freight ones, or maybe it was just our buddy Mitch like going ham with like ignoring the clicks on a torque wrench or whatever. But if you want to rewind, were we recording the podcast when I did that race weekend at CMP?
I think that was just I think we started just after.
Gotcha. I don't know if
I
Mitch
don't
was just
remember.
like ignoring the clicks or whatever, but it was a Harbor Freight torque wrench, and we lost studs for no reason. And I I don't exactly remember him torquing them down, but I don't remember hearing clicks, so it made me think that the click mechanism on the thing was broken. And I think I made a point on the podcast that we shouldn't cheap out on like our measuring instruments because they actually cost you way more money when cuz like you spend so money to go to the racetrack, wouldn't it be dumb if you lost it? And if this like little torque reader thing doesn't like if it doesn't work out, then whatever. I just bring my torque wrench to the racetrack. It's not that big of a deal. It's just I'm just trying to come up with like a solution to like a very DJ problem, essentially. I
Yeah,
like I don't think it's
copy.
actually a problem. I was just like, man, if there was like a smarter way to do this, like this would be really cool.
Matt Busby says torque wrench clicks release dopamine. I
I
agree.
totally get that. Yeah, yeah.
They honestly do.
But if it beeps, that kind of does the same thing, like, well, beep, and then you're like, good, and then you go to the next one and it beeps. No, not
I
good.
gotta say though, I've worked the ones without the click. It's not the same. It feels so weird.
Sometimes the
It
click
feels
is
like you
weird
didn't
though.
actually do anything.
So, yeah, BuzzFeed. He goes, the click hits different.
I agree. I want the click.
The
Click, click.
I don't think I've ever used one with a beep before. I got to try the beep before I can actually have an opinion on this. Have you done the beep?
I have, and it's just weird when there's no physical resistance to tell you you're done. It feels like you didn't complete the job.
What if instead of a beep, it goes like ta-da?
If it puts a little resistance in my hand and goes ta-da, sure, why not?
What do you mean a little resistance? The resistance is the stretch of the bolt.
Right, but if you have this big torque wrench in your hand, you can do more than 95 pounds. So you have this thing, and if it doesn't click, but it beeps at you, and there's no physical resistance, you're just like, I guess it's
Mm,
fine.
okay.
But you get that click, and it's like, oh, yeah, we're there.
All
All right,
right.
cool.
The thing shows up tomorrow. Next week on the podcast, there'll be an update, whether it's a yay or a nay. So
Whether you're satisfied or not, yeah, cool.
yeah, we'll see. I think because I'm pretty sure it beeps at me. So if it beeps at me and it leaves me feeling a little empty on the inside, then I'll let everyone know.
Deal. So you're kind of just a car guy this weekend.
I was very much a car guy. Unfortunately, Carlton would have been proud.
Actually, I don't think car guys are the guys that really work on their cars like you were. Like Ryan Christoph's in the chat when he's working on his CRX in his garage. That's not car guy behavior. That's like race car behavior.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, so I for a majority of the work, I went over to my dad's house. He lives like 2-ish hours away from me, and he has a lift, so
Mhm.
we just threw it up on the lift. Also, guys, working on a lift is like, oh my god, that's the dream. That is so nice. You're just like walking
Oh yeah,
around under
yeah.
the car. Oh, I
When
could
I
get
was at
used to
ASM
that.
and I needed to sorry, I cut you off. When
You're
I was
good.
at ASM and there wasn't a lift free, I would literally like stall. If I had to work on my car in the driveway or whatever else, like, oh, this sucks now.
Oh, it was so nice. You just change the level of the car to like what you're working on at the moment.
Yep.
So the front bumper on the FRS was pretty beat up, and my dad was geeking out about like some zip tie engineering, and he was like cutting up paint sticks to like put behind the bumper so it was cracked because he didn't want to do like that classic zip tie stitch, like the
Yeah.
stitching like on the bumper, and he's like, nah, we're not doing that. So he's like taking apart the inside of the bumper to put like paint sticks on the other side of it, and somehow I don't know what wizardry he did, but somebody kicked debris in on the road into my lane on my way home, and I smashed it, and the bumper looks great. So whatever you did, Dad, like you killed it. Like
You've got a career in like drifting.
he
If you
could, dude. He absolutely could. He actually crushed it. So, uh, I actually had a lot of fun working in the garage with my dad. I haven't done that in a very long time, and the lift was nice. And because it was a race car, or like race car ish, like it doesn't matter what it looks
Yeah.
like it's so much more entertaining to work on because you don't have to care about any part of the car. You're just like, we just got to get it functional.
Sure. Yeah, I agree with that. It was way more accessible to work on stuff like the S2000s as often as I did that. But then my BRZ, for example, because even just like the dumb like undercladding of normal cars
Yeah.
just makes everything take so long.
Yeah. Like all the plastic. Well, so in order for the car to still be like class legal, right now it's not because I have a different header on it. I have the other header like on its way.
Cheater,
I'm
cheater.
not competing in anything with it. I'm just doing track days. What when I do finally compete with it, I'll have like the OEM header back on the car. So
That's why it was the fastest SSC car in the country.
well, no, it had a clogged cat, and I didn't want to drive around on track with that, so I put in another one. I don't want to start a rumor that
I know, I know,
our 10 horsepower down FRS was cheated up somehow. Like,
I know.
yeah,
Accusing you of cheating is like the worst thing you can do.
that would mortify me. So that's why, like, I have a second gen cat on it because that's what I could get my hands on. Thank you, Dave Santel. He sent me that. And then I was thinking, I'm like, you know what? Like, I don't think it actually gives any performance benefit because like the bore leaving the the catalytic converter is bigger, but it immediately goes into the overpipe that's like the normal size. So like it's probably actually worse because it doesn't have like a smooth way out, but it's not like the class legal part, right? So I was
Yeah.
just gonna throw it on there, but I'm like, man, if I do want to like hit up like a national event in the FRS or I go to sell it at some point, I should probably just have the OEM header so I can throw that thing on there so like it is like actually legal because I don't know if it's a performance advantage or hit. And if I'm competing in the car, I just want it to be like legal. I just want it to be the same as everyone else. I don't want to win the event and go, I only won by like a tenth. I wonder if that header like came into play for me like winning that. Or oh, I lost it
Yep.
by a tenth. I wonder if that header came into play to me losing that. Like I just don't want that to exist.
Here's an interesting question. Have you ever in your co-driving found out after you'd competed that you did it in an illegal car?
I did. Remember that Finger Lakes drama?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Remind me the details, though. Only remember is that you got protested and you were really disappointed.
I was super disappointed. So in autocross STX, you can't have spherical like bushings in the car in any capacity. And the car that I was driving, the owner, he he was relatively new to autocross and his mechanic was like sick of aligning the car with like the OEM like whatever changes the toe in the back of the FRS. And so
Yeah.
he just asked, "Can we just get these so my life's easier?" And the owner went, "Well, as long as, like, it's not spherical bushings or whatever." And then the guy's like, "Yeah, yeah, look, there's, like, it's rubber on the thing." And he's like, "Cool." Well, it's spherical underneath that, like, rubber cover, and he didn't know that. And honestly, he was pretty new at autocross anyway, so he probably, like, didn't know, like, the nuances of exactly, like, how the rule
Yeah.
worked or whatever. It's a toe link. It doesn't, like, actually change anything about the car. It's just all the aftermarket ones available just have spherical bushing. So, like, you're, like, basically stuck using the OEM one that's, like, apparently annoying to use. I don't know. I've never done an alignment on FRS. So, we lose an axle on the owner's third run. I don't get a third run, but my second run was like good enough. So like I'm like in the noise to win the thing. And uh somebody helps. I'm not going to call the guy out on the podcast. That's what I was delaying. I was like, "Do I call the guy out?" And I'm like, "Nah, we're not using this platform for hate." Um so somebody offered to help swap the axle because they've done it before, and it was like, "Oh, that's very nice of them." And then while swapping the axle, that guy noticed that those toe links were in there, and he goes, "Hey, just FYI, they actually don't make toe links that are legal for the class because they all have spherical bushings." And the owner goes, "Oh crap, I didn't know. I'll try to have it changed out before like the next event." And they go, "Yeah, okay, cool. That sounds good to me, right? Cool." That to me, that's like the way. Like it doesn't add any kind of performance benefit, but it's not class legal, right? So
Yeah.
so to me, that was like the proper way to handle that. Like, hey, just so you know, so this isn't a problem in the future, that's not like a proper part. Now, if that person keeps showing up in that part, then like, yeah, protest them. Like they're not
Totally.
in the spirit, right? But we do the next day. I didn't know about any of this interaction. I think the owner of the car just didn't want me to like worry about it or fret because I was making a deal that we didn't have like the foam to put in the trunk. I'm like, we need the foam in the trunk, or like somebody's gonna protest us because we don't have the foam in the trunk. It's like a
Yeah.
pound, but like the foam should be in the trunk, right? So like we like scrambled around and like found foam. If I'm remembering this correctly, I think we like were stealing foam from like a D Street car or like a SSC car or something. We were like taking foam. We were like borrowing the foam, so like we would be
Yeah.
legal. And we go through the event and I win, and I was really proud of that drive. And I was like, it was kind of like a financial stretch to like be there anyways. This is while I was doing GLTC. But if I won, I got like $200 from Bridgestone, and that made it like feasible. And I was like, hey, cool, like it paid off. I got to have a fun weekend, and it really didn't cost me anything because I get the $200 from Bridgestone.
Yep.
And then I heard that we were getting protested, and then the car owner told me about the thing and the interaction, and the person that protested us was the person who pointed out and helped us with the axle. And it's because they were, I forget, they were like one spot out of the trophies and they wanted a little piece of wood to take home. So they protested me, who won, who was above them, and then they got a little piece of wood, and I didn't get $200.
Well, that's the right, but that's lame.
It is the
It's very
right,
lame.
it is the right, but it was pretty lame.
I think you pointed it out, and I'll say it again explicitly. In grassroots racing, unless it's like a very, very important event or a very high level of grassroots racing, everybody gets a little bit of the benefit of the doubt with the like warning shot. Like, hey, that's illegal, but just fix it, you know?
Yeah, unless it's like,
And if they show up with it again ever, then like not cool. But like for a local autocross, for a regional club race, like fix it for the next one, man. Come on.
well, this was like a national event at Finger Lakes. This wasn't. I mean, that's how Bridgestone would give us $200 or whatever. But it wasn't adding any performance to the car. Like it should be legal. Like if like let's say there was something that like added power to the car, regardless of how much I won, protest me, right?
Yeah.
Something that like added like changed the suspension geometry or something along those lines, protest the car. Like like that's a performance enhancement. We don't like, it's hard to quantify how much that is worth. I don't care if the class got smoked by 3 seconds. It doesn't matter. Like that car had a performance benefit. But when it's something like even the foam in the trunk, it's like, really, did a pound really
Yeah.
like
Man, I'm from the era of autocross where people were protesting over the badging being on the car correctly, for having like there was a common panel that you would cut on a 1989-ish Civic to get easier access to, I think, shock adjustments, and people would cut the little piece of material on the interior of the car, but then they would still keep the material in like a bag in the car that was always like a look, I'm still legal. Like
Yeah.
it used to be way nerdier, I feel like, than it is now. But maybe that's just because of my exposure to it.
I feel like people
I
still
have
keep, like, clips and stuff, like, they, like, shove it in, like, the seat pocket, like, behind the car.
right.
I know Peter did that with the SSE car, like, he would like, 'cause there was, like, plastic clips that were, like, removed for, like, easier shock access and stuff like that, and all that stuff got, like, shoved in, like, the seat pocket.
Yeah. So I'm realizing I think my entire pro racing career is a sham because the cars that I drove that were illegal accidentally were both of my B spec cars. Like the two cars that got me into pro
Oh my
racing
god. Guys, this whole time we thought Tom O'Gorman was good
this
at
whole
this.
time. So I bought my first one on eBay, sight unseen, and I had it delivered back up. I don't remember who brought the car to me, but I had it brought back up to Ohio. I did my first pro race that was at Mid Ohio, and I crowdfunded all of it, and it was just me and my dad and a couple friends helping. Cody Mason helped, Danny Pop helped, and a couple other people came up. Our friend Jerry, whatever. I just want to shout them out because they helped a ton. Then the next event, I like scraped together to go to Laguna Seca, and as I arrive at the track, they're not letting anybody in the paddock yet, but you're in that conga line of cars waiting to get in, trailers, and it's like all these race rigs, and then me in my truck with an open trailer in my B spec car. And the series officials come to me and they say, "We have a very, very high suspicion that your car is illegal because the team that you bought it from sold their other car to somebody else, and we found that that car was illegal at the last event, which was at Utah
Oh.
Motorsports." So I just drove my happy ass 36 hours across, and I'm not even in Laguna Seca yet, and they're like, "Your car's illegal." And they suspected it was the catalytic converter was cleaned out and straight piped to make more power. And sure enough, so luckily the series and Honda, the people that were at Honda came to me as well, and they helped me get a part overnighted from Honda in sorry, HPD in California to Laguna Seca.
That's not even hold
And
on.
like I
That's not even a good
what?
cheat. That's what was cheated, the catalytic converter was cleaned out?
Yep,
That's a
yep.
terrible cheat because you can literally smell it. You can smell the
I know.
difference. That's a terrible that's not even clever.
Yeah, duh. So this other team bought this other car and they were found out to be illegal at the race they brought it to. Luckily, I was off the radar, I guess, until because they knew I bought it from the same team that cheated the car up. So I'm like by myself at this event, literally completely by myself. I have no crew, no help, nothing, and I have to like now change the second or the primary catalytic converter, which is like not the one in the exhaust. It's the one like up behind the engine at the firewall.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god, how the hell am I going to do that with my like barely any tools and no help? And luckily, I had a couple people jump in and help, and they overnighted the thing. I ran the car illegally in practice and qualifying because I didn't have an option. I needed the track time and I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
The catalytic converter came in during qualifying, and then I put it in before the first race with help. And as I was sitting on the grid for race one of the officials comes up and says, "Is your car fixed?" They weren't really checking up on me, and I said, "Yes." And they said, "Was it fixed for qualifying?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Thank you for being honest." And he let me go because I qualified like third.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm surprised they let you keep that spot, honestly.
I think that's the thing about pro racing is there's shit like that that happens. Like that kind of stuff happened at Tech too. Like if not the car was illegal and they let us go, but it was like the ride height bar that they would use to slide onto the car, it would like touch something and they would give it a little harder push if they liked you. Like there's little
If they
things like
liked
that that
you.
absolutely happen.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So, I
Renee did
wonder.
that because she was bringing everybody chocolate at Tech every event.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh my goodness. It's like a little game to play. So I
Yep.
wonder, that guy totally knew. He's like that guy had his car cheated up for quality or whatever. And then I like walked by in the paddock and saw them like cramming a catalytic converter in a thing before the race or whatever, right? He totally knew. But the fact that you told the truth,
Probably.
he was probably like, you know what? This kid's all right. I'm gonna give him a pass here.
Yep. And then the next car that Honda supplied me and another driver to share for the year, the way the schedule basically worked out is we got the car in like May or June or something, and I only had 3 more races left in the season at the time. So I didn't get to drive the car until much later in the year. The guy I was sharing it with did a bunch of SCCA races with the car, and then we kind of like traded it back and forth once or twice, and then I took it for the end of the year. But he raced the runoffs the week before my final race. So the car literally got shipped across the country in 3 days after so I could race it. And all I know, because they won't really tell me details, but all I know is that when Honda got the car back, this is the red fit, there were things that were not right. So I don't know how long I raced that car illegally. I don't know what was illegal. I don't know if it was something that was big, small. I'm like, thank God I didn't know because I can't feel guilty if I didn't even know. Now I feel guilty a little bit, like God, what was wrong with that
But
car?
like you're like the position you're in, you're just there to drive the car. Like you're not really touching or doing anything with the car. So like you're relying on
Well, at the time
people
I was, but
on the B spec
go ahead.
on the red one because you're relying on the people around you to make sure that the car is like ready to rip.
Yeah, that's fair.
So it's not like you're like in there measuring stuff and
Yeah, but it's still kind of it's this weird. I've never actually shared this story with any public
yeah, it's
space
fine.
because I think it
Tom, nobody
looks negatively a bit.
yeah, nobody listens to this. You're good.
I know. But yeah, I've apparently I've raced. Oh, and the third time I raced in a legal car and didn't know about it, when do you remember when I autocrossed Darian Taggart's car and we moved up a class and we took all the interior out?
Yeah, was that illegal somehow?
I found out afterwards technically that's illegal because the rules for that class, we bumped up to a class that requires if you take interior out, you have to have rollover protection
Oh.
added, and his car didn't have rollover protection added. So and I think Dave Montgomery knew because we were in the same class in different cars, and he's a super good friend of mine. So I think he probably knew and just like didn't protest.
Yeah.
But yeah, we took what like 100. I think we took like 80 pounds out of that car to do it
But
to
then you
run
would
F
have
prepared instead of
yeah, but then you would have put like 30 pounds back in doing the rollover, so it would have been only like a net of 50 pounds or
right.
whatever. Yeah. Hmm.
So in hindsight, I was like, ooh, we kind of messed that up.
Yeah. The thing is like there's a lot of rules. With GLTC, I honestly I never really looked at the rule book because I'm like I don't have enough money in the car to like break any rules. Like
Yes,
I'm like
right.
I can't break the rules.
I can understand the rule book to point out why everybody else is doing better than me being their money, but I don't look at the rule book for me to spend my money.
Like, I understood, like, with GLTC, I understood, like, where I could spend more money to, like, have the car be better and closer to the limit of the rules, but like, knew I wasn't in a position to do that, so I didn't actually, like, 100% know exactly where the limit was. So, I will
Wait, say
say,
that part again?
I didn't
You didn't
know
know where
where,
the limit was of what?
where the limit of like, the very fine details of the rules, like, where, like,
Oh, sure.
exactly the line was. Um There was there was a time once where I did very well in a race, and it went an extra lap longer than I thought, and I went, "Oh god, I'm gonna be really close on weight," and I chugged, like, 3 or 4 bottles of water before I weighed in, and I passed by 1 pound.
That's amazing. Was that the race you won?
It was.
Mid-Ohio, right?
Yeah, it was my first win.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
remember that. That was
yeah, it
awesome.
just went an extra lap, and I was like, "Oh, crap," like, and all the other testing that we've done, like, because I was, like, measuring the amount of fuel that we were using, and I wasn't trying to be, like I was trying to be within 10 pounds at the end of the race, which is cutting it very close, right? Um,
Yeah.
but when it went an extra lap and then, like, the fuel gauge was a little lower than I thought it was, and I was like, "Oh, crap, I'm gonna be, like, real close." So, I just chugged water because it was kinda hot and it was a little sweaty, and I really needed that water, guys. I just really
Sure.
yeah, I really needed some of that water, so
Guys, I wanna know best people, guys, gals. I wanna know your best, like, almost cut it or, like, didn't quite cut it, like, impound/tech/win story or whatever, if you have a good one. Phil, this is a good storytelling topic. Have you ever protested something? Have you ever been on the accusatory side of a protest? I have once.
I've never protested anybody.
I've only protested the event
Oh.
once.
So,
Do you remember the when I
like when Rick Cohn protested Bristol for having the same course.
basically, yeah,
Yeah.
like, you don't have to protest an individual. I think I did have to protest the chief of the course or something.
Did I say Rick Stone?
You said Rick Cohn.
Okay. I guess I for some reason, like, the lingering in my head is like, did I just call him Rick Stone? That's so weird. Anyway,
Rick
sorry.
Stone, international man of mystery.
That's exactly what that sounds like.
Yeah. Da 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 da.
Rick
No,
Stone.
I think, which by the way, if you guys are not autocrossers, there is an autocrosser named Rick Cohn.
Yeah.
It's the best name ever for autocross.
He's actually pretty good too,
Um,
so it's even
he's really
better.
good. So,
Yeah.
do you remember in the NSX when I had to protest the event because they made me take a rerun that I didn't want?
Yeah.
That was my protest. So, long story short, sorry for the autocross nerding, but in autocross, if the cones are not where they're supposed to be and they're not marked in their box, you're technically not driving the course as presented. And the driver gets to choose the choice to like stop and point the cone if it's out of place, or the corner workers can like wave a red flag and stop and get it back in place. So somebody in front of me on the Nationals run when I had the NSX from Acura must have they plowed really, really wide and they hit an outside cone at the very end of this wall that was basically like defining the limits of the corner, like way, way, way where you would never be anywhere near if you weren't, you know, messing up. So the corner workers didn't notice because it was so in a weird spot. And no one from driving, you couldn't tell where the cone was supposed to be because it was in such a weird spot. So I come through, and it just so happens that the steward of the heat watched the course worker not get the cone, watched me come through and two other cars and not notice that the cone was hit, and go out of his way to like come and say, "Hey, like they didn't drive the course as presented. They have to take a rerun." So when I heard about this, it was my fastest run, and I knew that I'm in this Acura that overheats like crazy with the engine and the tires and all this. I'm like, God, like I don't want the rerun. I'm not taking the rerun. And I ended up having to protest it. They gave me a provisional rerun that didn't stand because I protested the event on the grounds that I don't have to take a rerun if I don't want to. And they said that you have to drive the course as presented. But they used some sort of weird course walking rule to like overrule my protest where I was using like the part of the rule book about the course. So I still disagree with the precedent. But basically there is an autocross precedent that they can make you take a rerun even if you don't want it. I found that out the hard way.
What if you find out after the fact that the course didn't have a cone in the place that it needed to be? Couldn't the reverse be where you get a rerun? Like after? Like you didn't even have to stop?
Yeah, I mean that's the precedent they said is not
That's
logical,
that's
but that's
kind
what
of
they
the
said.
precedent that's set there, right? Like, so, like, if you go through and then, like, let's say your co-driver notices, "Hey, you didn't stop for that down cone," or, like, that cone that's out of the box or whatever. I saw a corner worker go fix it, like, 5 cars later. Doesn't that set the See, this is the nerd shit. This is why the rule book's, like, 600 pages long or whatever, right?
Yeah. Right.
So, like,
Yeah, that's why there's a section for the course and course walking, and I remember it was the rule that the course must be the same for all competitors, meaning if like a piece of gravel comes up or whatever and they have to move the course, they have to let every you have to get everybody the same chance on the same course technically. That was the rule they used to make me have to take the rerun.
yeah, gotcha. That's an interesting one. Yeah, because like, let's say it's the last cone in a slalom that's knocked out. I mean, I've done that at locals where I'm like, "Woohoo, this could be a good one." You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right, yeah.
You're like, "I'm not stopping for this. Hopefully, they don't call it on me." Right?
No.
Because that's the risk you're taking. It's like, okay, they could call that cone on me because then they notice that it's out and whatever. Like, I'm obviously the first one that noticed that that cone's not where it should be. That's generally why
Yep.
most of the time you stop because you don't want that
Yep.
cone called on you, even if you didn't hit it. Because like, how are you going to prove that you didn't hit it unless you like bring
Right.
your video and all that stuff?
So I thought I had him backed into a corner because he literally watched me not hit it.
Yeah,
I was like, "You know I didn't hit it." So I didn't stop for it because I don't have to, and you know I didn't hit it, so you can't give it to me.
yeah,
And they still yeah,
yep,
I
yep.
got the
They
I
got
got
you.
the energy from that protest that they were all like, "Come on, get over it," because I did win the event, but I was pissed. Like, they took away 3/10 off of my time, and they put me in a stressful
Would
situation
you
on
have
day
got
1 and all this. It was like,
would you have gotten a guitar?
I don't think so. I didn't look.
Okay. Tom's still hunting for that guitar.
I have one. I would like a real one. I would like to win overall index,
Wait, how did you
which
get
you
the
win a
guitar?
guitar for.
What did you get the
I won my days, Tuesday, Wednesday, but somebody beat me on Thursday and Friday.
Oh, gotcha. You want the overall. Is it I wonder statistically speaking, we're really nerding out right now. I'm sorry guys. If you want to skip like 5, 10 minutes, you can. But I wonder if statistically speaking, if like Tuesday, Wednesday is typically like the better paxing days because there's less like stuff on the
Never.
course.
No, I think Thursday, Friday late heats, unless it rains, are always fastest
You think
because
so?
Hoosier cars can stick to the surface. Yeah.
Mm. And it's like rubbered in. I would just assume the surface would be so dirty that like it wouldn't actually. You think rubbered in is gonna be the fastest?
Yeah, the rubbered end's definitely fastest, and they street sweep every night, so it's not like 4 days of buildup.
Yeah, true, true. I feel like the years where I and the OPR is the most annoying part about solo nationals. God, I hate that. I wish I could just run like first heat every day, just so I don't have to deal with
I'm so
that.
perplexed. Maybe when we get closer to that, we need to talk about it more because I'm perplexed by this problem that people have. I can't remember ever having a, like, dirty offline problem specifically at nationals, but hardly ever, other than that one day we were at pit race and the drifters had been there, and we were in Darian's car, and it was really extra terrible.
Yeah.
I don't really relate to this whole "it's dirty offline" thing, like, you just drive tighter, cut the distance anyway.
Yeah. You're good at that though. So like you don't have room to stand on. You're like you're you're so freaking good at
You know,
autocross. Like
you guys just need to
I wish I
pull
was
yourself up by the bootstraps
yeah.
and get better. No, I'm kidding.
I don't know what your guys' problem is. It's just autocross is easy. That's Tom McGorman right there.
This is 2025.
Tom's
That was a
just
bad
like
I didn't really connect.
Tom's just like this like savant autocrosser and like doesn't understand why he's so freaking good at it. Wish you could explain it to me.
No, that's not true. No, 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 I don't need this rumor. It's just a I've never experienced that particular problem.
Mhm. Mhm. I'm mad at you now.
You're mad at me?
Yeah.
Well, at least you kicked my ass in iRacing. Guys, I've been iRacing a little bit.
Yes.
Should
I've been
Do you
proud
wanna
of him.
switch from one nerd topic to another? Autocross to
Yeah,
iRacing?
sure. The Tom's you've fallen in love with the GTP cars on iRacing.
It's not so much in love because I find them very frustrating, but if you're not an iRacer, like, daily keep track of stuff, they updated the tire model on a couple of the cars. One of them's the GTP, which are, like, the IMSA prototypes, and they feel so different that it doesn't even feel like iRacing. So the fact that they're really challenging, it doesn't feel like I suck at iRacing. So I'm, like, kind of intrigued by that car. Like, I enjoy the, "Okay, let's get good at this thing that doesn't feel like the game that drives me nuts."
Yeah, it
'Cause
does
I still like, I'll get in the M2 or something else, and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, this is still the game that drives me nuts." But that car just feels different to me.
that car in iRacing, and I'm never gonna get to drive a GTP car in real life, so I will never be able to determine whether this thing actually drives like a GTP or whatever. But it does feel very video gamey, doesn't it? Like it totally feels it feels like I'm playing like 2024 like Formula 1 like video game from Codemasters or something. Like it doesn't feel real.
Correct, but it also doesn't just feel like an arcade that's so easy.
No, it
It's,
doesn't
like,
feel like
really,
that.
really hard.
No, they're super hard, like ridiculously hard. And I think driving stuff like that in iRacing is like I think it's actually beneficial to our real life driving. Just because it forces you to be better at the things that like are going to make you better in a normal actual car.
You just admit that people should drive more than GT3 cars and Formula 4s in iRacing?
Yeah, I think you should drive all the things. I've this isn't a
Oh.
new stance from me, Tom.
Alright, so next time I wanna race something weird, I'm gonna pull this out. Episode 140, mark it.
Okay,
Uh,
one
minute, minute, I don't even know what time it is. Minute 50.
minute 43 44 is what you want.
I was way off.
So
I'm just giving you shit.
yeah, but one thing that we should definitely not drive is an 87 stock car because those things are actual trash, Tom. If you want to get into it.
There's a way more realistic possibility that I'll get to drive one of those someday.
That is
So I
true.
will report back
I will report
if I
back.
ever drive one.
I'm sure they actually drive like they do in iRacing. It's just the asymmetrical, like lifting the inside front tire off the ground, it bouncing like off the ground is just like, God, what a piece of crap.
Yes. I think the other part of they are. The other part of the GTP is Ito was beating both of us. And I think we both kept racing until we felt like we could keep up with Ito.
Yeah, I think we did enough laps where we the hierarchy landed where it should.
Oh, not the hierarchy. That's crazy.
Can't
Hierarchy.
I can't just let Ito be faster. Like, come on.
Brutal. Oh my god. I guess I don't really have any stories of iRacing except for that one guy that started next to me. Guys, I don't know what it is about iRacing that makes people act so stupid. But this guy started next to me We're side by side, and oh, I love this in iRacing where you drive the whole lap side by side because that's how they grid you. There's no system where you drive the pace lap like single file and then pair up. So you drive like real scared of the guy next to you the whole time. But these cars are hard. You got to warm the tires up. So he launches, and then he's like weaving across the entire width of the track for the first straightaway. And I'm like, okay, do your thing. And then we get halfway through the track, and as I'm like rolling to fill up the pack space,
Yeah, it's starting to
he
pair up.
starts weaving across the track. Yeah. And then just swerves right into me. Like he thought he was supposed to be on my side. And so he crashes into me. My car's damaged. His car's damaged. But he's apparently mad at me somehow because he races right back up and he pulls in front of me and brake checks me and slows me down. Mind you, he's supposed to be in the other column. So he's not even in the right place. Oh, I was so mad. I was like, why am I playing this game right now? Why do people have to act like this?
I'm
Because it's
sorry,
not
Tom.
real.
I'm sorry that that happened to you.
You should have played the music. That was a good rant.
Oh, dang. I need to, I
Too
just need to
late.
put
We'll
the
put it in
Thomas.
post.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that will happen. I need to put the Thomas the Tank Engine song literally on the podcast machine. So then
Yeah.
it's there and I can just cue it up. Like if you just start ranting about something, you don't even have to tell me to turn it on. I'll just turn it on. I'm like, yep, Thomas Tank Engine. Tom's all
Yep.
riled up about something.
Thomas Tank Engineering.
Yeah.
Here he comes, steamrolling down the tracks.
You know what? I never realized that you and the Tank Engine share the same name, Tom. That's
Really?
yeah.
Oh, the kids in first grade loved that.
Were you Thomas the Tank Engine in first grade?
Yeah, when I wasn't like gay or a girl or something. Yeah, I was Thomas. Yeah, of course. Kids sucked.
Oh my god. Kids are brutal, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're the worst. Kids are
Yeah.
savages. They're just maniacs trying to figure out how to be a human.
I do like there's a kid I like, my niece, who I saw today.
Yeah.
And I got her a Rexy doll, the IMSA car Rexy, the Porsche.
Do they have their own doll for it?
They have their own dinosaur doll, like,
Okay.
branded with their team name. And I'm not, like, a particular fan, but I love that that's, like, a whole thing that's happening, that there's, like, a car that's iconic in our era. So I had to buy her the little doll, and she liked it.
Nice. Isn't it fun being an uncle?
It is. Well, I mean, I'm like, I'll be 1 foot out if she turns into a jerk at any moment, but when she's 8 months old and cute, sure.
Okay. Wait till she gets to the age where you just get like undeserved love from them and you just be like, "What
Sure.
did I do to deserve?" Like they're like when I go to my sister's house, they're so excited and they're giving me hugs and they just like, "Oh, DJ, watch this. DJ, watch this." Like they're all like so excited that I'm there. And I only see them like a couple times a year. So like it's like I just feel like it's like completely undeserved on my end,
Yeah.
but I greatly appreciate it.
I, yeah, I just kinda had a realization that I can make time t so there's a thing in my family because 'cause I've been traveling and living in weird places for so long. A number of my cousins have had kids, and when I show up at Christmas or whatever family party twice a year, you can tell these kids have no freaking clue who I am, what family I belong to, like, where in the whole, like, the hierarchy, if you will, I rank.
Yeah.
Because they can tell, like, "I know you're in my family, but I don't know who you are." So I'm like, "At least I can go visit my niece as much as possible the first couple of years when I'm an hour and a half away."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So she doesn't walk in and be like, "Who's that one?"
Yeah, that would be I'm glad, my I have to thank my sister for really pushing me to like get out there as often as possible to have like some kind of relationship with them cuz that would suck if that you walk in and they're like, "Oh, who's that guy? Oh, that's my uncle." Okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like the undeserved love is like way better than
totally.
just like, "Oh, that's just a human that my mom interacts with."
And that's what I'm looking for is undeserved love.
So if you have
Um,
undeserved love, reach out to Tom O'Gorman.
yeah, I forget how we got on kids, but we had a sim racing. We were talking this weekend or last week when Ito came up too about like the potential bad habits of sim racing
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah, we could talk about that. Um, so yeah, we were talking about like because it's like an observation that sometimes people that have purely just sim race, so they didn't do any autocross or karting or anything like that. They just sim raced and they're wicked fast on the sim. And then that transition to real life is hit or miss. Sometimes that transition goes really well, and then other times, like, it just seems like people never quite get it. And we were kinda having a conversation of like, well, what like, why is that? And like, what things do that people are sim racing that they make that transfer, like, really easy? Um, and I think what we boiled it down to is if you're driving anything in real life while making that ascension on sim racing, then in a much better position to take the things that you learn and know from sim racing and apply those to real life because you're having that like continual interaction back and forth between the real life stuff and the sim stuff. So,
If I could go ahead.
no, go ahead.
If I could bottle the ability to isolate the way the sim feels relative to real life, so that it's like a one-way street, that the sim helps you get better in real life, but real life expectations can never hurt in the sim, that would be like a magic drug. Because I think a lot of people struggle with me included, I'm like king of this. That's not what would happen in real life, you know? So, uh, I think
So,
you have to be really careful once you're doing that ascension into like, when you're dipping your toes back into reality. Once you go back to the sim, you've learned in the sim, you go to some reality, you apply that stuff, but then you take what you've learned in reality and try to apply it back to the sim. It's not a one to one that way. Like I think sim applies to real one to one. You can pick and choose because you don't get to pick physics in real life, I guess maybe is why. But every game has its physics and its exploits and its things that work that maybe don't in real life. So I think the perfect driver would be like someone who can play the game, learn from it, apply it to real life, but not let real life get back in the way of the game too much. Does that make sense?
yeah, but I think like the back like let's say you sim raced a bunch and then you go real life driving and then you like don't touch the sim anymore. I think that's bad too. Like, I think
True.
you need to, like, keep you need the back and forth to keep happening. Like, it's always one of my favorite things to do is, like, I'll get done driving a track in real life, and I'll come back and I'll drive it on the sim just because like, I think that's fun. Like, "Ah, I just drove this all
Yeah.
weekend. I'm driving it again, but this time it's in virtual world." And
Right.
I think, like, that back and forth is super important because, like, you're building this, like, metaphorical, like theoretical bridge in between the two. And the more you travel back and forth across that bridge, the stronger that bridge is going to be. And the stronger that bridge is, the better that the thing that you learned in real life applies to sim racing, and the thing that you learned in sim racing applies to real life. And to touch on something that you were saying, Tom, where you're like, that wouldn't happen in the sim. There's plenty of stuff like that in the sim that exists. Like one example is like this like flash heating of tires that happens in iRacing that makes like you'll go for a slide and then like literally a split second later you're like you have the car together and you start to like put some load in the tires and there's just nothing there. Like there's no grip, right? That happens a little bit in real life, but not at the extent that like iRacing like has it happen. And
Right.
and if you only focus on the things that like make whatever sim you're using different than real life, then you're not going to get it out. You're not going to get like what you need out of it. But if you shift that focus and focus on the things that are similar to real life, and you just kind of like conveniently ignore the things that are not similar. But okay, hold on. I want to rephrase that because I don't think you should necessarily ignore them. You should just be like, that's an oddity of this thing and it may
Yeah.
or may not apply to real life, right? Like maybe like because here's the tricky part is because maybe you find out something or you're exploring something with your driving in sim, but it's you might be like, well, is this like a sim kind of thing? Like especially when you're like trying to get like your world view on driving like together. Like you might be exploring some aspect of your driving in sim, but maybe
Put it together.
that only exist in the sim. And then you go try it in real life and you're like, "Oh my god, that thing I was focusing on, like, doesn't matter at all." Um, I can't think of a great example on that, but I could see, like, where that would cause frustration, where, like, you think you're getting
Yeah.
better at something, like, you're getting better at driving overall, but really you're just, like, finding some weird, behavior in the sim that is allowing you to set faster lap times that maybe, like, actually doesn't apply, as much in real life. One being is, a lot of the except the, tracks in iRacing that have 3D curbs, most sims, the curbs are way friendlier in sim than they are in real life. So if, like, you're finding lap time by, like, exploiting, like, all of the radius, into, specific corners because you're just, like, ignoring the curbs, then obviously that's not gonna transfer, like, that exact way you're doing that, that's not gonna transfer into real life. But what does transfer is you exploring the potential radius of the corner in all aspects. So when I'm coaching people on the sim, trying to get them ready for real life stuff, I don't want them to drive the track like they would in real life. I want them to explore what radiuses work in each corner, how the curbs affect the car, like I want you to maximize this version of this racetrack in this version of this car, right? And then when you get to the real life stuff, then you get to maximize that version of the racetrack in that version of the car. But we have this built-in like exploratory behavior where we're actually examining what is the actual radius of this corner that I can drive. Where does it start to not pay off? Like where should it just be tighter? Like you get to play around with these
Yeah.
things. And those are things that we should be playing around with in real life. We shouldn't box ourselves in. Well, it's like, well, I shouldn't drive on that curb because it looks rough. Well, who knows? Maybe the car's loaded in a way where like you just drive over that curb and it's no big deal and now you're way faster. Or you like oh there's grass on the inside there like for example the right-hander into Thunder Valley, a lot of times on the apex of that turn it's dirt. Well, normally it's dirt because everyone's driving there because that's faster, right? But if you like for some reason put yourself in a box where you're like, well, I'm not going to drive off the racetrack, like I'm not going to do that. It's like, well, that's more radius there. Like we're using that. So like I think there's certain ways that you can frame stuff in iRacing. So like if you only focus on how it's not the same, like oh the curbs here you would never be able to turn in like that or whatever. But
Yeah.
if you just change that viewpoint a little bit and go, well, actually I should be exploring the radius into a corner, uh, no matter like what is happening and what it looks like, and I should experiment and play around. If you take that mindset in, that mindset actually transfers to real life.
There was some other specific this weekend when we were sitting there, and I asked, like, I wonder if there's a bad habit loop that you can get into without realizing it just playing the sim. And now I'm spacing on what that was. So I feel really bad that I can't remember that. But I also think when you go past driving the car and you talk wheel to wheel, that's when the whole like mic can reset thing I think really actually happens because people just like stay full throttle into things or like they don't really react like someone's spinning way up there and it's not my problem. So I'm just not going to lift. And then you get there
Yeah.
and it's your problem.
I wonder if like some smart implementation of yellow flags into iRacing would actually nullify that because it wouldn't actually benefit your race at all to like charge through a wreck because your
Well,
position's
that's
locked in place anyways. You know what I mean?
yeah, but that's not perfect to real life either because I don't know. You did you see anything from Shane Van Ginsbergen when he did his first NASCAR race on an oval? You know what I'm talking about?
No, but is NASCAR racing on an oval really applicable to any racing that we're gonna be doing?
Well, it's in the same sim. They have to make it work.
Oh,
I was
okay.
gonna say the point is he got to the oval after like winning cup races in the road courses, and he's like, these people are fucking crazy. Like they just don't
Oh,
lift.
okay.
They literally will just drive the car into the crash because it's better for them than having to lift. And he's like, I am not used to that. Like that's so weird.
That would be
That's
weird.
how I feel too. But that's kind of how iRacing drives or sim racing in general sort of drives to me.
Yeah, kinda, a little bit.
But also I think like MX5 drivers will do that at the right,
I mean,
you
we
know,
saw it.
Daytona or
We
whatever.
saw it at Daytona.
Yeah.
Most of those people
Um,
probably coulda just checked up and then raced another day, but there was, like, something to maybe gain there, so they went for it.
right.
But if, like, the moment a yellow comes out and somehow you knew all the exact positions that everyone was in, like, right at that moment, and then that's where your position is, no matter where you end up after that, then that would nullify, like, these, like, terrible decisions, like, because like, if there's nothing to gain
Yeah.
by being risky into, like, a crash that's happening in front of you, then you just like, "Oh, oh, keep the car together because that's important to my race is that the car is functional."
Yeah. Or on the alternative side, you could just ghost the car that's spinning, Forza style, and then all the
No.
crashes won't happen.
No. I would be so mad if that happened. There is stuff to
I wish it
learn.
was like
There is stuff to learn, like when crashes happen in front of you in iRacing, like, the things that you can do in real life still apply, like, in iRacing, like, where you look at their tires to see if
yeah,
they're locked or stuff like that, like, the attitude and the behavior of the car. I think the way the cars, like, spin around and twist, and I think that physics is, like, super accurate for the most part. Sometimes they get a little bouncy and they'll, like, kinda fly off of things, but for the most part, like, the way that the cars are behaving, kinda, like, having dodged some, like, shenanigans in front of me in real life, I feel like I had a really good instinct on that stuff because of all, like, the repetition you would get from, like, dodging, like, shenanigans in iRacing. So,
yeah,
like, that absolutely
true.
does come into play. So, like, I don't think they should get rid of that part because, like, part of the sell on iRacing is that you get like, yeah, it's expensive. Like, I probably have just in iRacing alone with all the content and stuff, it's like well over $1,000. Like $1,000 for a video game, that's crazy. But then you like count like the sim rig and all that other stuff. It's like, I don't know, probably over the years, it's been 8 years now. I probably have $10,000 into it, but that's like y- spend $10,000 on a video game. Like you're either like a whale on uh what's that phone game with the gems?
What are you a whale?
A whale. They're called whales because they're like they're such a huge part of the economy of that game. Like most people just play it for free, like these like pay to play games or whatever.
Oh,
So the people like it's a very small percentage of people, but they will drop tens of thousands of dollars into the game, and that's what makes the game like super profitable. They're
that's
called
so
whales.
sad. Like the
I'm serious. That's a
like
thing.
the, oh, what was the other thing I was just thinking of? The video game where they sell the equipment. What do they sell? They sell, like, the outfits or something? And they're all or their swords and stuff, and they pay real money to get the rare weapons in the game. What
That's
game is that?
that's like every video game, Tom.
That's so wild to me. Can you imagine having to spend, like, actual real money to make your iRacing cars faster or, like, fix them or something?
That would actually be
I mean, I
kind of
guess
cool.
we spend money on it all the time to make it work,
Yeah,
but
but, like, what if we've talked about this before, like, what if we had a league where if your car was totaled, this is, like, the amount you owe the league, and if it was, like, damaged, like, we do, like, a damage assessment, like, throughout so, like, let's say the car's totaled, you owe the league $100, right? So, like, there's actually, like, monetary, like, implications of, like, you being a hooligan or getting caught up in something, whether it's your fault or not. Like, we've talked about
I like
doing
that
that.
way better than incident limits. I don't remember talking about that, but I like that idea a little bit. I'll run that league. I don't wanna race in it, but I yeah. How much does whale damage cost?
You've got wheel damage. So the reason why because I do really like that idea, but I think the reason why it's never happened is because how do you accurately determine the damage of people's cars?
I have no idea.
Like if you had to tow it,
We
is
get
it
an insurance
$100?
adjuster in here
Or like if the
to run
steer
our league.
like how do you do it? Like is the steering crooked? So then that's like $30 that you owe to the league, or like a crinkled fender that's $10, or like how would you do like an audit on it? It would be also be like a lot of admin work, but it's definitely a thing that could happen.
I mean, I would just simplify it. It would be like she dented she, what would it be? Like, dented something and broke.
Yeah,
If you
yeah.
got tier 1 level, it's like 15 bucks. She dented. You get 15 bucks. If it's like you're completely out of the race, okay, it's 30 bucks
All
because
right,
she totaled.
we could do
She
this.
broke.
We could do this. So like if your car shows any visible damage on it, it's like $10, whatever. If the steering's crooked, it's $30, and if the thing like the car's just totaled, like it literally can't keep doing laps, that's $100, right? And that money
That's the
goes
economy of scale here is a little crazy. I think
that
we need to take a 0 off everything.
no, 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 no. No, because it's gonna this race has consequences, Tom, and it's also gonna pay for the broadcast, and a prize pool for the podium.
We didn't even have to incentivize the Sebring race to be clean, and it was almost boringly clean. I think we're maybe we lose some entertainment value with our new league idea.
But think about it, like, if somebody, like, has, like, a self crash and they stuff the thing into a tire wall, there's, like, actual consequence. "Oh, no, that person owes the league $100. Oh, that's gonna really suck for them."
Brutal. Yeah, that's a good way to run everybody out, I think. I love the idea. We just need richer people, I think.
Yeah. We gotta start a rich guy iRacing league so we can charge them money
Yeah.
when they Larry.
Speaking of racing though, I forgot. This weekend I did commentary for the SCCA
Oh,
race in NOLA.
yeah, okay, so, because I saw that you were, like, working, like, commentary, but you didn't say anything about it the last podcast, so, like, what happened? What's going on
I guess
there?
I forgot. So the SCCA Super Tour, they've been doing broadcasts, which are like static cameras and commentary with a graphics package and stuff. And it's not like it's definitely not grid life level, but it's way better than most of the NASA stuff I've tried to watch. Not to dig NASA, but it's like it's a watchable stream. And they asked me to do a day because the guy who normally does it was busy doing something else. Greg Ginsburg was busy. So I just subbed in. I literally sat here like it was iRacing and I watched the stream on YouTube that everyone else can see and I commentated the races just like that from, and I had a director in one Discord channel and then we were speaking in TeamSpeak and talking about the racing and it was so fun.
That would be
I
super
like
cool.
genuinely had a good time.
I wonder if we could make a couple conversations, we could just do, like, a Lizard Brains podcast over that.
So that was the craziest part though, is the SCCA throws so much ads in those to pay for the stuff that you have to play the ads and the ad breaks are like 3 minutes long. So you spend so much downtime like while the ads are playing or like waiting for the next session. It would be primo podcast time for
Yeah.
sure. But it's hard because the guy who's running the whole thing, that's like 8 hours of podcasting.
Mm, we could do
So
it.
like the
I think we could do it.
we could,
We would just have to not talk to each other for, like, 2 weeks, and we could totally do it.
right? We'd have all these fresh stories. But it was so easy because you're just not it's not necessarily easy to commentate, but it was so easy to sit and like watch the races, talk about your favorite thing again, and I had a good time. The There was a really good Spec Miata race. There was a really good Spec Racer 4. Like I was bopping around that day, kind of seeing other stuff that was going on in our breaks, and I watched Super Taiku from Japan, and I watched was it WRL? Something else, and I watched something in Europe, and the SCCA stream was the best racing. Actually,
That's
I was
cool.
like pretty surprised.
How
Yeah.
how was it captured? Because you said the cameras are, like, fixed. Are they, like, up on top of the tower and then, like, it's like, barely see them, or how what does it look like?
They're stationed around the track, usually in like a they're pretty far away and they're pretty wide angle. So for example, the one on the front straight would basically get like basically the entire front straight. And then there was one that covered turns 1 and 2, which are, kind of flow into each other, obviously. But so you can see them go through there. And it just kind of follows the battle that we're talking about from stationary camera to stationary camera.
Yeah, okay.
But there
But
wasn't really any dead spots though, which was the nice part.
like, enough to, like, call the action.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's super cool. I wonder, man, the future is cool because like, that stuff is just become more and more accessible. I bet, like, at some point in the future, you have these, like, super high resolution cameras with, like, a really, like, panoramic, like, view, and then just through, like, digital, maybe even, like, AI, it will, like, know to follow, like, because 'cause you're talking about, like, car 64 or whatever, and, like, the AI will know to
Totally.
pan on that car, or they can, like, select, like, "Okay, we're following this car," and it will, like, zoom in with its super high resolution and then pan and do, like, all, like, the, manual camera work, but just, like, automatically because it's, like, programmed
Yeah.
into the thing. Because camera sensors got so great and lenses are good and, like, all the software's working together, like, that's the future, like, that's totally gonna happen. It's not like a if that will happen, like, that will happen at some point. And if somehow over the podcast I just gave somebody that idea, then make it happen, please. Also buy a
Yeah.
T-shirt.
You took it one step further, but I've always thought that racetracks, especially like these private tracks that have more money put into them, should have a static camera system built around the entire track. But instead of doing it like there are tracks that have the security cameras or like Coda, which has every corner on camera and all that's covered. I'm talking like almost F1 qualifying style cameras that are stationary and zoomed really tight and like good high res and just capture sessions throughout the day or whatever and sell them as part of the package.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you pay a photographer for photos of the event.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
could pay the track, or you could, like, sign up for the video package, and then you have a video of you, like, hopping the coolest curb on the track in high res from the track, and then, like, maybe, I don't know, couple corners, and they don't have to do anything crazy, but
What if, like,
yours
it's
yours yours is even
yeah,
cooler.
yeah, what so, like, it doesn't even have to be, like, live, it could be just, like, all these cameras are capturing just that, like, whole span of the racetrack, and it's so high res that, like, it
Mhm.
can digitally zoom in and, like, pan with your car, and if you, like, had, like, a particular lap that you're like, "Oh, that was my best lap of the weekend," like, part of the package could be like, "Okay, well, we'll sell you, like a like a broadcast style panning of your car doing that lap from the outside."
Yep.
And that would just be like, "Yep, cool.
Have you
Let
ever
me
seen
let me
the
just click, like, what car we want, and boom, and it's, rendering, and we'll have it ready in a little bit."
I could see, I mean, this is obviously so complex, but I feel like there are people who could pull that off
Oh, absolutely,
pretty.
yeah.
I would hope that, then if the broadcast is way cheaper in this theoretical future, that all the entry fees go down, and that they pay for the people who lost their jobs. Did you see all this stuff in, kind of Formula Drift world, where they have, like, new technology that uses the telemetry from the car and the GPS data from the module in the car to, like, recreate what the run was on, like, a digital track, and they're attempting to try to make drifting have, like, a quantifiable score instead of just, like, an objective score,
Oh,
subjective score.
that would make drifting way more interesting to me if there was, like, an actual way that it's, quantified.
You haven't seen this?
No, I haven't seen it.
The So the only video, maybe I'm half educated, but I saw the video of it that I saw was of 2 cars that they pulled data from and recreated what the run looked like, and they were basically measuring, like, the lead car is at this angle, so the following car is supposed to be at this angle too, and they could, like, deduct points if you're not matching the right angle from the car in front, or the proximity gets too far away because they know the distance between the 2 points they're measuring with the GPS, or that you're on the brakes because they're using your telemetry now in a place you're not supposed to be on the brakes. Like, all of this stuff they're trying to digitize to
Yeah.
make it actually like an objective sport,
Did you
not a
see
subjective sport.
did you see where they, like, made, like, Formula 1? They had, like, Max Verstappen versus Lewis Hamilton, and they had,
Yeah.
like, one as a ghost car. Like, that was so entertaining and interesting to watch.
Yep.
That's dude, we're living in a cool time of motorsports right now. Like, people, like, wanna, play up, like, the heyday of, like, the '70s, or, like, when cigarette money was in racing, and that was definitely a cool era of racing, but I
We
think
got Bitcoin money now.
well, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much that's gonna help me, but uh, like, I just think we're in a cool era of racing with, like, the blending of technology to, like, the sport, and the sport's never been more accessible, stuff like that. Like, I just think it's so cool. I'd totally nerd out to stuff like that. You
I
wanna
agree with you. I do wish there was some, I do wish there was a little, yes, I do wanna do what you're gonna say, but I wish there was a little bit more focus on making it more economical instead of more accessible sometimes. But that's a topic for a different day.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. Um, emails? Emails. All right, we actually had
Sorry
quite a
if you couldn't hear
few.
my nod.
Yeah, I didn't hear you nod. I was getting ready to hit the button, and I was like, "Tom?" I looked over at you, and you're just, like, nodding your head. Okay. Da, da, da. I saw a good one earlier. I'm trying to find it. We pinned a bunch recently.
Mhm.
Mhm. Okay. Uh, oh, talking about technology, you wanna talk about AI coaching people?
I think this is interesting. Read the question and then yeah,
Yeah.
because I think could actually be a longer thing.
I'm ready to hear the opinion of 2 professional coaches of Trophy.ai's track coach feature. And he linked a video where Boosted Media, which is like this Australian sim racing channel, talks about it. And I've seen it before. Driver 61 is he's kind of been the one championing this Trophy AI thing, and I've seen it in action, and it does seem pretty cool. I think I'd have to try it myself to, like, really have an opinion on it, like, maybe, like, purposely do something wrong where I know what I should be doing and then, like, see what it tells me. Because it does
Yep.
kinda just seem one thing that's cool about it, I'll get this out before I lose it. One thing that I think is cool about it is kinda telling you to make the adjustments that will, like, manufacture and change the shape of the corner to be, like, optimal-ish, right?
I haven't seen this thing in action, so maybe explain it a little more.
Oh, it will, like, tell you, you sh so, basically, it grabs this, like, collection of data from, like, laps that are faster than yours, through, like, the Driver 61, like, coaching app or whatever that they have. It's like it collects a bunch of data from people, and it'll take, like, the fastest times and whatever their telemetry is, and it will explain, like, what they're doing differently. So, like, it will say, like so, like, you'll brake a little bit early and you'll, like, pop off the brakes, and then you'll get on gas, like, too early, and it'll say, like, "Try braking 30 meters later," and then you'll try that, and it'll be like, "Try releasing the brakes, like, 40% slower," or stuff like that. And
Oh, okay.
so, like, that's kinda, like, what it's doing, which is, like, sounds super cool. The problem and like I said, I'd have to try it. And I would love to hear other people's opinions on this because I'm sure there's people in here that have tried it. But part of like being a coach is that conversation between you and the student. It's not just like you're not just like barking at them, like, do this, do that, do that. You're having a conversation trying to understand like the human behind it. I'm wondering like how much like an AI coach is actually going to be able to understand the human behind it. Or maybe through enough trial and error, enough people using this product, it figures out its terminology and its wording and its input, like where on average the drivers are improving like fast enough because that's literally what AI is. It's like a trial and error, and it just takes the ones that did better and keeps like implementing those things like into the future. I could see something like this eventually like being super legit and like super helpful, to the point where I could see it like literally like IMSA drivers like have an earpiece with like their AI like coach like telling them like little minuscule details of like ways they could be optimizing their laps. And they'll have that because it will be like a little bit of an advantage over everyone else.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. To me it sounds like an advanced version of what Garmin tried to do with the Catalyst, where they had like an AI uh generated like what do they call it? Voice command thing that it would tell you what to do as you're like approaching the corner. You can turn this on and off. And the first time I used the Catalyst, I tried it on and it drove me nuts because it was happening like it would tell me things too late. And you're also in a car and it's like in a Bluetooth headphone and you're trying to like tell what it said. The instantaneous feedback though I think will be super helpful if this does a better job of it than the Catalyst does. And then the Catalyst also has like an Achilles heel where it breaks up the racetrack into sectors for you and you can't really control that.
Yeah.
So you can trick it really easily. For example, going into a corner that like Gingerman turn 3, it's a long straight into a basic corner with a long straight after. But it broke the corner off at the exit point and it counts the next straight as something else. So it kept telling me to brake later and later and later and later because it wasn't regarding the next straightaway afterwards. It was just saying you can brake later and carry more speed into that corner and make this sector faster. So I could see this also not necessarily, as long as they don't put it in a box like that, where it's stuck, as long as it's pulling, real data from real people and
Yeah.
giving it to you in its entirety rather than trying to break it up so it's quote unquote more digestible, but it ends up being worse information.
As far as I know, I don't know the exact workings of the like the trophy.ai thing, but it is pulling from telemetry from other real people, and it's
Yeah.
using that to help influence like its feedback to you.
While we're spitballing these crazy like tech ideas, I've always had this thought where there needs to be, or there will be probably like a heads up display that can more or less act like a Google Lens or something where it's like on your helmet visor
Yeah,
or maybe just in glasses and it gives
glistening.
you like it could give you like a predictive time up on the screen so it's always just available for you. It could give you some of this type of information. If you're a dork, you could have like a driving line turned on where it's like showing you where to go and like that's just basic like projection technology with GPS information and stuff, right?
Dude, I would love to have like a iRacing style like Delta bar that tells me like exactly how that last corner went.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, I really wanted, so at one lap when we won, we got those Garmin watches. the Garmin smartwatch, and one
Yeah.
of them, it was a out of service, not what do they call it? Discontinued product. But one of them has it was a racetrack edition, and it had like it could do lap timing, I think GPS based for racetracks. And I was like, I want that one because what if it does like predictive time on your wrist and you can just like
You look over and
check your
it
wrist, check
you,
your
like,
wrist,
come out of
check
the
your wrist.
corner and it's green and you're like, "Yes."
Yeah, it could literally just be a watch that has like green and red,
That would
and
be
that would still work.
amazing.
But I couldn't get my hands on it, and I also heard that it wasn't a great watch. But either way, I'm like, we're circling the drain here. Someone's gonna get the nail on the head
Yeah,
for
I
this
mean
like this racetrack braking technology.
okay, hold on. So what else would be in this visor? Like, you could have, like, telemetry of the car, current placing. You could basically just turn it into a video game, right? I'm trying to think of the stuff that would be useful, in real life opposed to, like, gaming stuff.
Well, you know if excuse me, you know if they did the driving line, everybody who doesn't know better would use that.
Oh, absolutely, and they would develop terrible habits using that stupid driving
Yeah.
line thing.
But it could be like, in Forza where it like changes colors depending on how fast you're going, so you know where you have to brake and stuff.
But it was still faster in Forza to not use that driving line.
I think people learn really well by having a braking line only setting. I actually think that's pretty helpful because it gives you brake references without the guesswork to start. And it also gives you an idea of the limit for like I've totally learned this is years ago, but I've totally learned tracks I didn't know with the driving line for brakes only on. So I knew where to brake for the first lap.
I
Not that bad.
Look, when I played Forza, I had the braking line on. But when I transferred over to Sims and that thing didn't exist, that was a learning curve that I had to develop to, like, use physical things, like, on the edge of the track or on the track or whatever, like, use things as references rather than just this imaginary line. And going back to Forza, there's a lot of times where that line will be red, but you actually don't have to brake because, like, the
That's true.
programming, like, whoever programmed that, like, just, it's not 100% accurate of what you actually can do. So if you remember, like, in Forza, you would be like, "Well, I know I ignored that red part of the line, but I need to hit this red part of the line." It'd be way better
Huh?
if you just knew the track and, like, where to brake and the references around the track. You'd be faster because of it. It'd be more repeatable
But
too.
your visor cam could like highlight the brake marker you need.
Oh, like, it, like, triangulates in on it?
There you go.
And then it would, like
Target found. Doot, 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 doot.
like Terminator style.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I think that we're hitting on an interesting topic of things that you should learn, but ultimately don't need to know for long term. Kinda like, I think auto blip is kind of in this realm.
Yeah, probably.
Even honestly, like an automatic transmission kinda
Yeah,
is. It's like a
stick
paddle
shift.
shift,
I don't know
but
if yeah, like, if you're, like, learning to drive right now and, like, you have the funds to never have to drive an H pattern car, do you even need to learn how to drive a stick?
I would still want you to, like or heel toe is a better example. Like they have auto blip in a lot of cars now, but I think I'm a better driver because I can actually heel toe than somebody who just never learned.
But if
That's
the
like a
auto blip
dynamic of the
was
car you never learned how to manipulate, so therefore you don't have that skill set. Even though
yeah,
you
you
don't
wouldn't
need
have
it,
that
you don't
skill
have it.
set, but, like, if you didn't need it, then, like, is it worth learning?
I don't know. That's why I said it's an interesting like, if I could have that visor and it could highlight my brake marker for me, maybe I would use that all the time. I don't know.
Like, I'm imagining 20 years from now, and there's, like, a car that has an H pattern in it, oh, that's an old car. And you're at, like, some
Yeah.
racetrack and, like, somebody has, like, an old car and you just jump in and you can heel toe and you look like a magician because you're from a different era, Tom.
You call me old?
No, I'm saying in 20 years you'll be old.
I will be I'll be in my 50s. Damn.
Yeah.
You're almost gonna be 60. Damn.
What? No, I'll be 25 years old still.
Right. Should we do what's our time looking like? Should we do one more?
Yeah, we can do one more.
Oh, I just had one and I lost it. I scrolled down. Since we're already talking sim racing, Jay DeVries asked, how much of a head start does a dedicated sim racer, e.g., 5 years of sim racing, 3K rating, so that's pretty good, have when stepping into a real race car for the first time? Would they be competitive right away, or are there major gaps to overcome? And what would the biggest hurdles they would face be?
So we kind of talked about this earlier on the show. where like I think the best way to do it is to like be doing both at the same time, like as you're like learning. And I realize that that's not feasible for a lot of people who are only sim racing. You're only sim racing because that's like where you're at. But even like rental carts or something like just like some rental carts on like the cart track near you, like I think that would be huge to like add in to like also sim racing. Um,
Mm.
just so you can get that feel of like the tire on the pavement. Like I think that's going to be a something, Jay, that if this question's for you, um that's going to be something that you'll have to kind of get a feel for. Uh and I think like the auditory cues that you pull in from sim racing, those will help you get that feel. Like it's definitely a step. It's like you'll definitely have a leg up, but you'll have to take, like, the correct things from the sim into the real world, and like we talked about earlier, going back and forth, not just like, "Cool, I'm doing it in real life now, never gonna touch the sim rig again." I don't think that's the right
Yeah.
move. Yeah, I think you need to keep doing
No, I
both.
agree. But I think okay, so I think a person that does sim racing for a couple of years before stepping into a real car they have a it's not a definitive amount of head start. It's gonna be different for everybody. But in my experience, a person who is a pretty solid sim racer will become a above average driver basically right away, the first time they get into a
Yes.
car, over the first day or 2 at least.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
And if you're like a pretty exceptional iRacer with a couple years or iRacer, sim racer, um, meaning you're maybe a top split driver, let's say. Let's define it as like you always end up in the most competitive split of whatever thing you're trying to race.
Like 4K plus.
I think you'll be competitive right away. My experience with those people is they're basically competitive right away.
Yeah.
Do
I
you agree with
I
that?
yep, I agree with that. I mean, that's kinda how I was, but I was also autocrossing and karting and stuff like that. So I don't know if I'm like a good example here.
I was also the same. I did years and years of sim before driving a car, and I felt very prepared. The biggest hurdles for me, I
But
don't
you
know
were
if
doing
everybody's gonna
carts.
have different ones,
You were doing
probably.
carts too though, weren't you? Or did
No, I
you
wasn't.
did you autocross before you ever did a cart?
Yeah, I was autocrossing like 5 years before the kart track opened.
You never drove a cart
I
before
mean, I
that?
had driven karts. The go to the local track and race 2 races when you're a kid kinda thing.
Okay, so that doesn't count, like, if it's, like, putt-putt, like, where you're just, like, floored and you're just driving around waving at your mom?
Yeah. Well, 'cause started autocrossing when I was 15. They don't let you drive the adult karts at most tracks until you're
Oh,
18. So,
okay, yeah, 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 yeah.
um, my hurdles were noise, sound, um, not so much in, like, a street car, but the first time I drove a car without an exhaust on it or without an interior, like, noises were a hurdle for me. And the other one that I didn't experience too badly, but I see a lot is weight transfer because drivers will sometimes learn to drive with the steering wheel and with the direction the car's traveling instead of with the way the car's moving, if that makes sense. Like you're driving the steering wheels instead of the weight of the car. You with me?
Uh, Another way this could be phrased, and you tell me if I'm with you after this, is they're using the steering wheel to indicate the direction of the car more than the pedals.
Or at least that's how they're thinking of it. So when they get in a
Yeah.
real car and there's actual weight transfer and you can feel it, there are drivers who I know that are pretty good sim racers who have zero concept of weight transfer or have had zero concept of weight transfer when they got in a real car.
I I almost wanna push back on that a little bit. I wonder if that's, like, some self-preservation coming in, because I feel like, especially in iRacing, to actually set remotely good times, you have to be really solid at the weight transfer thing. Like, that muscle memory has to be really automatic. So when you get in the real car, if that muscle memory doesn't come in, I think it might be because, like, when you shift the weight to the front of the car and the rear moves, like, that's kinda scary.
Yeah. I agree with you, but I guess I'm thinking about it. I was probably thinking a little too autocross where you manipulate the weight so aggressively and so quickly that people who have only driven like a simulator with a racetrack, they've never had to do that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like the pace of action on the simulator is so much slower. But we see that same thing when people only have ever driven like on a racetrack and then they come to an autocross event.
Totally. But I could see I think that there are certainly people who go from simulator to real life and they end up without the ability. They lack the ability to, like, audible stuff, and that part of that is, like, quick changes of direction that might involve a lot of weight transfer and understanding. Like, I think iRacing has a little bit of a bad habit of developing drivers who are really good at driving on the line around the racetracks they know, in the cars they like, is kinda what I'm getting at. So they don't have the confidence to, like, for lack of a better term, grab the bull by the horns and, like, make the car do what you need, which you can do way more in real life than you can in the sim, in my experience.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I think the things that you'll take from the sim into the real world is bandwidth. You're gonna have
Yeah.
so much more bandwidth than somebody who's never done that. And that is gonna lead, like Tom was saying, like you're just gonna be way above average, like right away. And I think a lot of that is the bandwidth. And then also it's hard to concentrate on this thing for 15, 20, 30 minutes at a time. And sim racing helps build up that muscle memory, or like that you're like building up like that brain muscle to like be able to focus on that thing. But that's mostly because somebody who's like completely brand new to this, they're having to focus on every single thing. Nothing's been built into a habit yet, and that is exhausting. So like for them to actually be able to focus on a 30-minute race or whatever right off the rip, or a 30-minute session, even like an HPDE session or whatever. That is a lot to concentrate on for 30 minutes. Like you would be exhausted after that if you had no muscle memory. So sim racing carries a lot of those, built-in subconscious executables that we've talked about on the podcast. Like it will help bring those into the real world. And some of that stuff you might not even realize like came from sim racing. You just be like, oh, I guess I'm just kind of good at this. But like those things
Yep.
definitely came from sim racing.
'Cause talent isn't real.
It's not. It's a hoax.
You thought you were talented? No, you're lying. You're
No.
not talented. You're just skilled.
Yeah,
Is that what we say?
you just played a lot of Mario Kart.
You have a lot of effort. That's what I was going
Yeah.
for.
Turns out chasing those leaderboard times in Mario Kart paid off. Congrats, kid.
Did I ever tell Oh, yeah. Did I ever tell you I had all the world records in the autocross at Forza 4 when that game was popular?
Oh my god, you're such a nerd. You think they're
I
still in
had all
there?
10 of them at the same time.
Was Forza 4 Xbox 360?
Yeah.
It was. I
That was
bet
the only thing I was good at.
I w
Huh?
can you still go get on Xbox Live and on Xbox 360 games? I don't think you can.
I don't know.
I wonder if you're still there.
I don't know. If someone has it, I'm testing Squire something something. I had, like, an automated name get us
You were testing
given to me.
Squire? Oh my god, Tom. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know.
Did you know that?
No.
Oh, damn. I was gonna be so
Yeah,
impressed.
I know. I saw you getting your
It's kinda
hopes
one of
up.
those, like it's one of those, like, little secret claims to fame that just sounds weird to bring up, but it's, like, something I'm kinda proud of
Yeah.
because I was a teenager and had time to sit at home and
Yeah, and just
fucking
grind it
grind them
out.
out. Yep.
Yep.
Anyway,
That's fun.
what are you doing this weekend?
I am getting on a plane tomorrow evening. We're recording this on Wednesday, and I'm getting on a plane tomorrow evening to go to Las Vegas for the Las Vegas Pro Solo. I'm driving an Elantra N in D Street.
Ooh, does it have the push to pass button? The turbo boost button?
Oh crap! I think it's a brand new one.
So it probably does. You're gonna have to learn how to use your push to pass.
Yeah.
I think it's like another 20 horsepower or something crazy.
Oh man, how often can I use it?
I don't know. You're gonna have to look all this stuff up.
Oh, I'm gonna have to like watch videos on the car or something as I'm getting there. Okay.
That sounds fun. I'm jealous. That'll be so nice. Vegas is cool. I like visiting Vegas for 2 days.
I kind of so I was looking around in the area for stuff that's not Vegas. It's really close to
Yeah.
the Grand Canyon. I kind of wish like maybe we were staying there for like a couple extra days just so we could just go see the Grand Canyon cuz like me and Christine's stretch goal for hiking is like someday we like do the rim to rim hike, but
Yeah.
that's like a pretty insane hike. But maybe we'll get to the point where like we're physically fit enough to be able to do it, or like mentally strong enough to be able to do it, or whatever we need, right? But I was kind of thinking like if we saw the Grand Canyon, would we be inspired to like really like get after it and like really dedicate ourselves in order to get to that like level that we would need to be to actually be able to do that hike?
Sure.
But we won't have time to go to it. So
At all?
no, because we fly in Thursday. Like I think we land at midnight on Thursday, and then I'm working on Friday. out of the hotel room, and then I'm gonna go do practice launches, and then we're going to like eat in Las Vegas like Friday night, and then autocrossing all day Saturday, and then we're gonna eat again on the strip on Saturday night, and then
You're including eating.
yeah, I mean, it's like, look, because Christine's
Yeah, yeah.
coming.
Oh, jeez.
Did you almost die?
My chair just yeah, my chair almost fell over, sorry.
um, well, Christine's coming with, and she's never been to Vegas, so like we need to go do Vegas things.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
Like, one night walk around the strip is great. I'm with you.
yeah, yeah. So
I just like the, surroundings where there's, like, mountains everywhere and the sky's huge. Like, that's refreshing for a day or 2.
yeah, Christine's going hiking while I'm working on Friday, so I'm super jealous. She's gonna go to some like natural or national park like nearby or something.
Cool. Beats gambling.
Yeah, definitely. So
You won't lose
yep.
any money that way, hopefully.
Well, yeah, we won't gamble just because like that's not our cup of tea. But yeah, it should be fun. I'm looking forward to it. I hope the courses. I didn't watch any videos on the courses. I hope they're not like big. I haven't heard any like anything negative about the previous Las Vegas Pro Solos. So like it must be like pretty good. So I'm hoping the courses are cool and uh and I get to drive on the West Coast for a change because I've never actually done that before. I'm hoping next year I can get out the
Oh,
Packwood.
it's totally different.
Yeah,
It's wild.
I'm sure it's totally different driving on the West Coast. I've actually never slid a car on the West Coast before.
'Cause the sky is so big and the mountains are no, I'm kidding. I am, we have a family party on Sunday. That's kinda my only plan for the weekend.
Okay. You wanna
Another light weekend,
you
and then
wanna
the following weekend is something, but I don't remember what it is.
you wanna come out to
What's up?
Vegas?
No, I probably don't wanna pay for that flight for 24 hours
It
away.
was so sometimes flights because we're taking Frontier, right? We're going full like budget to get out there.
Ooh.
Uh, Sometimes those flights are only like $80. This time they were a little expensive, and we were kind of wondering why. Spring break, screwing it up for everyone.
Man,
Yeah, sucks. So you've been spending a
I
lot of time with family lately. Are they appreciating that?
yeah, and I am too. It's been
Yeah,
it's very grounding,
nice.
which I need recently, so that's good.
When do you start walking
Everything
the
else is
dogs?
on
Is
fire,
that
so
next
there's
week?
that.
Do you start walking the dogs next week?
No, dog training is April 15th, 22nd, and 29th.
Oh, you gotta wait so long for it.
I know. I'm dog sitting my cousin's dog tomorrow, though, and I got to hang out with my brother's dogs yesterday, so I'm like,
You're dogged
I'm
out.
covered. No, I'm not dogged out, but I'm doing a good job today
Okay, all
or
right.
today in general. I don't know what I mean.
All right, Tom.
That
Should we?
means it's time to end.
Yeah, should we end the podcast?
We should. Are you playing the music?
I am.
There it is. What lovely music. Hey, listeners out there, we appreciate you. I love your hair and I hope you win.